Well, it feels great to be back at Malarkey Mansions after 2 weeks of not broadcasting from here. 2 weeks ago, I was in France doing Paris-Brest-Paris, and last week we had to do it from a hall where we were running an in real life event. But here we are back at Malarkey Mansions for race 1.7, the Swan. Now, this one actually is a bit of a challenge. It's an up and over, straight over the top of a mountain. I'm not sure it'd be everybody's cup of tea. And here we've got the course. You can see it's the shape of a swan if you look at it like that graphically, with the body at the right and the long neck and then the head at the top. That's why they've called it the Swan. And it goes up to that white mass there. It's not snowy. I always assumed it would be, but it's a kind of chalky, I suppose, a bit like Mont Ventoux at the top, sort of landscape. Now, this race is going to be all about the uphill up to the top. You can see it does a loop around that mountain and then comes back down again. I think things will be separated at the top. I'm sure the mountain will put some people off and maybe not everybody will partake in this race. Don't worry, it's flat next week, absolutely pan flat, and more about that later. But this one of the challenging ones. So we've awarded 20 points extra if you finish this race. So in the standings, if you finish this, you'll get 20 points extra. Tim Humpton, the man to beat. Rob Miller not really capitalising last week, but Tim Humpton is being challenged for first place. He was winning the races quite easily, but he's been challenged. Rob Miller not quite matching him though, and now at 44 points behind. We've only got a few races left before we start Series 2. Yep, Snaver moving up into third, and race 3R with 3 riders in the top 4. But look out for the Electric Spirit guys. I mean, they've joined the series late, but they're getting great results. You can see Zeb Norman down there, Matt James, for example, and Glasgow United Stevie Cooper, of course. OTR riders in there too. CLS Lee Louis leading the ladies championship, etc. So let's go over to the start line. As I say, I'm not expecting a massive turnout today because partly because of the mountain, and certainly from a UK perspective, it's a heat wave here at the moment. So riding indoors is not going to be the greatest. So we had 23 in the pen, so that's fine. That'll be enough for a good race. And let's see. There's a pace spot at the front, isn't there, or just behind the riders? I'm not quite sure why that is. I don't think I'll set it up to have a pace spot, but let's see what happens. This is all to do with the new Keren style neutralised zone. I'm not expecting a neutralised zone because I didn't set one up. There is one for next week though, so let's see what happens in that. And are they allowed to go past it or not? Yeah, they are. So that's right. That's what I would expect. The pace spot there, not part of the race. I'm pleased to see. That was a new feature just announced today by Indivelo. They really are coming thick and fast with the new inventions, aren't they? I mean, all the new tweaks and features on there. We're looking now at Lee Louis out on the front. Oh, well done, Lee. It's a fantastic start. Yep, Snaver, Nick Greenhouch, correct to him. Andy Evans in there for West London. Rasmus Feldball, Morton Vane, Dan Stimpson for R3R, Brett Smith for West London, Zeb Norman of the Electric Spirit team, all in there. So the peloton all together at the moment. There's probably a couple of people missed out on the start. Now, I did say to you it's flat next week, and this new creation of the pace spot at the front, I've set it up so that next week, with a flat course of about 16 kilometres, I'm going to do the first 3 kilometres with a pace spot on the front to neutralise it, and just see whether that helps some of the people who get left on the start line, because you can see already now we've got somebody chasing up here, haven't we? It's looking at Mark. Oh, that's it. Mark Allard, get on there, Mark, rider for Canada. See Mark in the little frame there, can't we? Absolutely pedalling away. The one guy who's done it. Mark, of course, commentates for ZMS, one of my colleagues in that respect, and a thoroughly nice guy he is. A Britannian. He's a Brit who lives in Canada nowadays. You can see that, look at that on the horizon, you can see that it looks like a snow cap, doesn't it? But it's not, it's actually chalky. We're looking at Lee Louis now. She's been left off the back. She won't worry too much about that. I think she's probably on course for another 100 points in the Ladies League. I'm not sure if there's any other ladies racing tonight, but it'd be worth just sitting there and taking the points for Lee. 22nd at the moment, and I think that's probably last place in the actual race. She's behind all this lot, and we're looking at Carl Axel Pedersen now. He's alongside Ned. I haven't seen Ned for a long time. Oh, fantastic. My old friend Ned Bone, I haven't seen him for so long, and here he is in the race. Welcome along, Ned. Great to see you. And so this peloton's sticking together. Now, we are going to hit... is that somebody else on the webcam as well? I didn't quite catch who it was. Anyway, look, this is fragmenting a little bit, isn't it? They're not quite on the slopey bit, but they're just about to start. If you look down at the bottom, there's a sort of kind of grey profile of the course. You can see it's right over the top of the mountain, and this is the early slopes. Now, this is steep at the bottom, and this is really going to play into the hands of the climbers. And we see Zeb Norman absolutely going for it. Morten Vang, Norwegian now, Callet ESRT, Callis, I should say. I should know that because I'm about to buy some kit from them. We're looking at Andy Evans there, and he's just behind Brett Smith, two of the West London riders. Off the back, but I think, knowing both of those, I think they'll just start to accept that it is what it is. It's quite steep on these early gradients. You can see 9% in the top right-hand corner. I rode this myself the other day, and really it is the bottom part of the climb that is telling, and it's splintered it as we watch Brett Smith now going around the corner, and he's just watching people disappear up the front. Poor old Brett. And we had a nice beer together at on the Sunday at the end of our ride, and I think he's probably, maybe it's a craft brewery, maybe the beer's probably affecting his climbing. We won't know. Zeb Norman, though, looking strong. Look at this, the Electric Spirit rider. Morten Vang, though, sitting on his wheel, not giving up. And the gap back to Tim Hampton isn't too big, is it? It's not over and done yet. Now, let's have a look at the profile at the bottom. You can see they're probably, maybe a fifth or a sixth up at this climb. I reckon the first quarter is difficult, then it eases out, and there's a little kick right at the top. But if you can stay in a group over this first quarter of the climb, then I think, as I say, it steadies out into one of those things where if you find the right gear and get your cadence, you can spin up the rest of it. As you watch, Morten Vang now is going ahead of Zeb Norman. Will Zeb sit on his wheel? Obviously, at these lower speeds, you don't get... I'm glad to see it's 8.4 km. I mean, I was doing about the same up here, and I was thinking it was a bit slow, so perhaps I'm not as bad as I thought. Actually, it looks like Morten Vang is pulling away a little bit. There will be no shortage of climbs in Norway, I'm sure, but I think he's Norwegian anyway, but if I got that one wrong, I occasionally get the Scandinavians muddled up for one reason or another. Zeb Norman not far off, though, but Tim Hampton's catching up with Zeb, both in the same team, of course, and riding for Electric Spirit. So they might actually decide to work together. I'm not sure kind of quite how that works in the Electric Spirit team. I get the impression they work as a team. Aero Anacondas is the team of Carl Axel Pedersen. I don't know, maybe that's Carl on the screen, I don't know, but it's certainly Carl has got some great results. First met Carl on another platform. Good rider, strong rider, can win races. I don't know whether or not this is going to be... He's 7 seconds behind. Yes, it is. I've just had it confirmed. It is Carl on the trainer that we were looking at. I think Carl can do well. I don't think he's losing too much ground on Zeb Norman here. Zeb Norman is only 2 seconds behind the Morten Vang, Tim Hampton duo at the front. Yes, I think they're working together. Ludwig Karlberg, we haven't mentioned yet, 3 seconds behind David Bojet, who we're looking at the moment. David Bojet, just a little bit ahead of Ludwig. And Ratio Racing's Nick Greenhalgh, who was recognised the Ratio kit, that black and orange. And they do actually have real-life kit made up, I can tell you. I've seen Nick wearing it. Dan Stimson just behind him for R3R. A strong team in this, and he's got Jep Snaver, a teammate with him. Again, another one of those unmistakable kits. The light blue, white, red with the black of R3R. Great team, and always recognise. Those jerseys stand out well as well. I think that's a good choice, whoever decided those. Owen Springers is back, and it's always CLS rider. Owen Springers, always felt sorry because, I mean, he led the series early on, missed a couple of races and has fallen back, but nevertheless... he's a strong rider, and I think can be a contender. He's just got... Who's in the spring squad? He's got Jack Somerset from Saddle Drunk by the looks of it. I'm not sure why Jack hasn't got the... sorry, that's Rob Miller we're looking at. I beg your pardon. That's Rob Miller. That's Erwin Singer's... here we are, Saddle Drunk. That's the kit. So Jack Somerset from Saddle Drunk racing team just behind him. No Alex Gold tonight. I'm not sure. Oh, Alex Gold is there. Sorry, Alex Gold in 14. So we've got 2 saddle drunk riders. In between them is the great Ned Bowen from Chicago. The man from the Windy City is here. There he is in all his glory. 13th. Ned is a great sprinter. I mean, of all the races to pick, Ned, knowing you so well, I can't believe you picked the mountain one, because you are a very, very good sprinter and you know how to do a bunch sprint. Be sure you're in next week, Ned, because it's flat and I think it'll be a race that suits you. Alex Gold, my good friend, just behind him, and another saddle trunk rider, Martin Brooks as well. Evan Oystenson in between those two, just breaking up the group. Another race 3R, or 3R rider. Rasmus Feldball back at 17th for the ECKD club. We're looking now at Martin Brooks and Rasmus Feldball. Rasmus in the red. ECKD, it stands for E-Cycling Club Denmark. They are huge. They are absolutely fantastic. I mean, a couple of years ago, I remember when they were sort of kind of embryonic and launching, they held a big convention in Copenhagen and ran some races on which I commentated, which amazed me because, if you've ever been to Scandinavia, you know that English is widely spoken, but they let me commentate on their races there. And from that launch, they have grown and grown and grown. They never asked me back, though, so we'll have to see what happens. Gordon Jackson, now we're looking at riding for Aero Anacondas, it says. I always had him down as an OTR rider, so I wonder if that's been an allocated team by the platform. Gordon, everybody's favourite, of course. I say this every week. Of course, he had that fantastic chase, didn't he, a few races ago that brought... it tugged at everybody's heartstrings, but there we are. Mark Allard Will is next. There's Mark on his trainer, just standing up on the pedals, I think, so his head's out of shot. Co-commentator on the ZMS streams, of course. Behind that, we have the 2 West London VR riders, Andy Evans, Brett Smith. Top Jimmy not racing today. He's away, he tells me, and I'm afraid that's... his comment was he's just lost another 80 points because he's got to go away on business. So unfortunately missing the race. Lee Louis, who is looking very good for the ladies' title. Just slug it out, Lee. You'll get there. You're what? I don't know. Maybe third of the way up the mountain. It's 5%. It's between 5 and 7% on this stretch of the mountain. It's comfortable if you can just grin and bear it, and then it's downhill all the way home. Almost. So back up to the front, Tim and Morton now still together. They have got 18 seconds on Zeb Norman, who's got another 7 seconds on Ludwig Kohlberg. So there's gaps, but I think be interesting. There's a kick at the end. I mean, it's the kick at the end isn't that long, but it gets very steep on the very last section. Maybe gaps can be closed there. If you pedal hard enough on the way down, you can make up gaps. We can see the terrain here is sort of above the tree line. You can see these guys are very near the top now, 4% gradient. And if you've ever ridden Mont Ventoux or even watched it on the Tour de France, you'll know that it kind of looks like this. So this is very much modelled on that sort of landscape. It's not actually snow, is it? It's that kind of chalky limestone sort of thing. They're getting very close to the top and they're hitting that 13% ramp as they just go up round the bend. And it's Morten Vang looking slightly stronger. Tim Humpton responds, just to prove me wrong. You can guarantee if the commentator says something, the riders will prove him wrong. Morten responds again. And they're racing over this 15%. This is the worst bit. Morten looking really, really strong. It doesn't last long, though. And they've got a loop around the top. And it goes down at 6%. They'll go through the arch at any moment now. Morten just gaining a second on Tim as he goes through the arch. Now, they'll go to the right. Have a look at the wind direction, though. The wind direction is straight in their faces. So even though they're going to hit 0%, they're now into a headwind. It's only 4 kph. It's not quite a headwind because they've gone out to the side. As they go around this bend, they'll hit it again. I think when I rode it, it was more than 4 kph, so it's probably not as bad for them, but it's a headwind nevertheless. As they go round the bend, so they'll come out of this headwind and it'll be behind them on the way back. Tim Humpton now catching up with Morten. They've got 31 seconds on Ludwig Kohlberg, who's probably still grueling away up that 15% section. And he's just at the end of it. He goes through the gap. Oh, sorry, this is Carl Axel Pedersen, I beg your pardon. So Carl Axel Pedersen in fifth. So Zed Norman and Ludwig Kohlberg already gone through that. And if we're looking at Carl, he's 10 seconds behind Zeb, but he's just been caught by a couple of riders, and that's Nick Greenhalgh and David Bojet's in there. And he's got to respond. And you can see just putting his head down there and just trying to get on the wheel of these guys. Slightly into that headwind. It's gone down to 3 kph, so the wind not a big factor at the top. I mean, I found it was when I rode it the other day, but the wind not quite as strong. And Ludwig getting back, Carl getting back into the group with the others. So now a trio: Nick Greenhalgh, Seb Norman, David Bojet. Nick Greenhalgh, David Bojet, and Carl Axel Pedersen, just riding round this loop at the top of the mountain before the descent starts. Now it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. They've got 7 seconds on Dan Stimson. Remember, Dan Stimson's running Tuesday night events on Indy Vila, and Carl just losing a bit of ground there. He's struggling to keep up with these two. They're obviously putting a bit of pressure on, aren't they? As we go to the other side, Morten Veng on one view, and Tim Humpton, they're back. There they go through the arch. The other riders still coming up, and it must be demoralising if you're still coming up, watching these two flying down. Look at that. We can see all the riders coming up, still in the race. Absolutely fantastic. But the race is on now. This is really going to be a cat and mouse game. You sit on the wheel. Oh, pedal hard. Another rider coming up the mountain as these two descend. Morten Veng just taking a slight lead. I think there is some benefit in the aero draft here, but of course they are going downhill anyway. I was getting some fantastic speeds. I don't know if I got 73 though. 73 kph. This is super fast. I mean, I remember thinking it was very, very fast when I was doing it. As we watch the next punch, this is the Carl Axel Pedersen group, along with Nick Greenhalgh and David Bojet. David Bojet just falling back a little bit there. But no, he's got his head down. He's aero tucked in and got back into the grip. In fact, he's flying by them, and it'll be their turn. Oh, he's gone a little bit of a gap, but it's. I think as soon as you hit that headwind, it slows you up, and you see this again. And again, you see Carl Axel Pedersen just falling off the back. On the evidence so far around that loop, as we see another rider still coming up the climb. On the evidence coming up the loop, are they catching the others? This is phenomenal. I think they might be catching one of the riders ahead of them. Is that Zeb Norman they've just caught? I think it is. So Zeb Norman is not descending as well as the others, and he's going to have to do something about that. I think the realisation, you watch the reaction there, you could see it, isn't it wonderful? You can watch avatars, and you can see the reaction as he put his head down to get into that group. And it's, Ludwig now is the one leading off, but it's cracking stuff, isn't it? Look at this. Even the descent requires special skills. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So back up the front, Tim Humpton and Morten Veng, nothing between them. And I'm looking at that. They're nearly at the bottom of the slope now. So when they get onto the flat, this is going to be all about a sprint, I think. Tim Humpton is absolutely exceptional at the sprint, but Morten Veng is rather good himself. I don't know who I would put my money on with this lot. Absolutely amazing. So there we are. You can see it. They've been round the loop and they're down. They're nearly at the bottom. Let's have a quick word. Don't forget, Chase the Yellow is back on tomorrow night and on Thursday night. So a quick look at that before we go into the final stages and watch the sprint. Don't forget, just two more stages left on Chase the Yellow, Tuesday night and Thursday night. So plenty to do on Indy Velo here. Don't miss out. And very kindly, ZMS and Damien have still got the action on the screen to our left, so we can still see what's going on. Morten and Tim absolutely neck and neck as we look at Locked and Loaded coming up. We did that the other day, didn't we? It was a fantastic course. And Crossover Circuit was stage 4 on Thursday for Chase the Yellow. So make sure you're there. Now they're at the bottom of the climb. They are now going around that. Did you see the two red things there? That's the Flamme Rouge showing the kilometre left. That's a new feature just added today. As the others come through the Flamme Rouge here, and it really is a flame, isn't it? So 1 kilometre to go for this little group of 5, and what a prestigious group that is to be in. But Morten Veng taking the early jump on Tim Humpton. Don't write off Tim, he's strong. He's a second behind, 500 metres to go. He's not out of it, he's comfortable, isn't he? You can see by the avatar that he's comfortable. doesn't really want to go past Morton. I would have said set on the wheels. They get down to 400 meters to go. Tim is a very strong sprinter, and I think he's just going to play the game sitting on the wheel. And once again, as soon as I said that, he does what actually we've seen Tim do this before, haven't we? He can go early and hold it, and I think he might have just got this now. Morton responding though. Don't forget, we've seen Morton do some brilliant sprints. I don't think he's going to make this one up. Tim looking very, very strong, and Tim is going to do it absolutely phenomenal. Timed it perfectly. Tim Hunton takes the win. Morten Veng second, and we've got a fascinating tussle in the next 5 coming our way. And we look at this. Zeb Norman has broken away. Carl Axel Pedersen in second, but he's been overtaken by Carl Ludwig. Ludwig Karlberg, I should say. Ludwig is absolutely storming. Can Ludwig take this on the line? It's going to be very, very close. Can Ludwig do it? Yes! Oh my goodness. What a finish from Ludwig. That was amazing. Going back to Jep Snever. Sorry we didn't catch the other 3, but the results will be coming up. Oh, what a fantastic finish. Jep Snever here for R3R. He's a second ahead of Dan Stimson by the looks of things. We can't see Dan on the screen. I don't know if they're going to contest this or not, but Dan a second behind, so I'm guessing that Jep's comfortable in that slight gap that he's got on Dan Stimson, who should be following him across the line. And he's second. It almost looks like Jep's sitting up, doesn't it? Sorry, watching Dan Simpson. I beg your pardon. That's Dan Simpson coming across now. Owen Springers is next to come along. He's got Rob Miller behind him by all accounts, and Rob Miller, another R3R rider, so they'll be picking up plenty of points. Top 2 riders in your team will pick up the points. Alex Gold, my good friend, he was injured last week in our real life event. Good to see him back on the bike. I mean, he left our in real life event last week, assuming that he was going to do the race that night, but I think by the time he got home and looked at the wounds on his arm where he'd fallen, decided against it. But Alex finishing strongly here. He's pulling away from Rasmus Feldball, who's a pretty decent rider. So well done, Alex. This is good stuff. Saddle Trunk picking up some good points tonight. Jack Somerset has also gone past Rasmus. So that's more points for Saddle Trunk Racing Team as he goes through in that back right there, just followed by Jack Somerset. A 1-2 there from the Saddle Trunk Team. Rasmus coming in next. We're now looking at Martin Brooks, also of Saddle Trunk. This is the Saddle Trunk section. He's 28 seconds ahead of Ned. As I say, I'm very surprised that Ned picked a mountain stage to make his debut in this. But I think, Ned, if you can get back next week, it's going to be a course that suits you. It is absolutely plan fat. 16 kilometres next week, Coastal Loop. And we put in a 3 kilometre neutral zone. So even if you get a bad start, you will be able to sort of make it up and keep with the leaders across that 3 kilometres. And then there'll be another 13 kilometres of flat out racing, pretty much on the flat around the coastline of the Indy Velo Island. So I think a race for you next week, Ned. Well done for doing this one, because I know it's not your favourite sort of terrain. And the man from Chicago coming in, of course, a very decent time all the same. And as we see him come across, he's 7 seconds ahead of even Oystenson now, who's a bit ahead of Gordon Jackson. Is Evan Oystenson, another R3R rider. They put out a strong team between them and Electric Spirit. They do put out some strong teams. Gordon Jackson, and next up, everybody's favourite, as I say. I'm not sure about the I'll have to ask Gordon about that, or maybe he'll tell me. But I have him down as an ATR rider, so I'm not sure where Aero Anacondas are. I think that might be an allocated team by the platform. If you aren't registered with the team, it gives you one. So let's assume that for the moment, shall we? Gordon coming in now. He's got 300 metres to go. He's not going to be troubled on the line by Mark Alladwell, I don't think. Mark's probably a little bit too far behind now. 3 minutes, I think that says. So you can see the damage the climb does. That on the way up, that was quite a climb. I'm sure some people probably avoided this race when they saw that climb. But we want to put everything in this. We want everybody across the series to see the best of Indy Velo. We've got some new courses which we will incorporate in Series 2 starting in early October. Mark Alladwell there, the ZMS man, coming home now. We can see him wearing red on the track, and of course wearing red in his home on the smart trainer there. Looking quite cool, isn't he? He's just got 2.8 kilometres to go, so it's mainly on this flat. Well, he's still going downhill, isn't he? You can see the arrow on the profile at the bottom of your screen, the yellow arrow points where he is. It's halfway down the hill, clocking up a pretty decent speed, I'll wager, and probably enjoying this bit of the course. I certainly did. I mean, I kind of got to the top of the mountain when I did it, and decided that's great. That's work over. We can now have a bit of play down the mountain. But of course, I wasn't racing when I did it. Mark, not under any threat from any other racer just behind him, so I think he'll probably be absolutely loving this bit of it. I'm sure he'll let me know if I'm wrong. It's anyway. 1.9 kilometres to go, so 900 metres, he'll hit that brand new Flamme Rouge. It's quite fantastic, isn't it, the way that Indy Velo are adding features every week. And I think the smart thing about the way they've launched this is that they've got all the basics really, really right. It functions robustly, smoothly, solidly, it's intuitive, and they're just adding all the bells and whistles gradually, layer by layer, rather than chuck lots out there and get it all wrong. So let's have a look at the top 10 finishers if we can. It's Tim Humpton. It says, I thought Morton then got that. I might be wrong. Maybe it's, as I say, I thought Morton then got that, but we'll have to have a look at that again. Tim Humpton declared the winner. Maybe Morton just was a sort of split second too late. It's 0.01 of a second, so it's very, very tight. Ludwig Karlberg and Seb Norman are next up. Ludwig pulling away as we saw. Carl Axel Pedersen at 5th, Nick Greenhouse 6th, David Bojet 7th, and Jep Snaver at 8th, Dan Simpson at 9th, Owen Sprengers at 10th. Sorry, it was the, I beg your pardon, it was the Ludwig Karlberg one, wasn't it, where he crossed on the line. So perhaps I was confusing the two. Tim Humpton, the clear winner, that's clearer than I perhaps thought. Electric Spirit taking it. Aero Anacondas, as I say, I think that it is an allocated team because you can see Morton Bain, it's Callis, ESRT, Callis. Love their jerseys, so I'll say that. I've got a whole load on order for my club, so let's hope I love them when I get them. Well done, Owen Sprengers coming back to the fray, getting at 10th there as well. I mentioned him in the Netherlands. So back to the action. Let's see who's out on the road still. So we're watching Mark Allard still. 400 metres to go, and he's at the bottom of the hill, obviously on the flat section now, just enjoying the last little bit. He's got a side wind, so it's not going to be too difficult. And you can see the finishing line from here, can't you? I do like it when you can sort of see it and you've got something to aim for. It does help, I think, with the sprints. I'm not putting out 240 watts, it's more than I do. Cadence is 72, probably a bit less than I do. And heart rate I don't measure, so I have no idea. Well done, Mark. Fantastic to see you. I'm sure he's got a pretty cool heart rate because he does commentary. And you've got to be calm for that, as we all know, haven't we? So, Mark Allard will. Andy Evans and Brett Smith riding together at Lindau at the back. 2 West London riders. The only 2 we've got in it today, as they Top Jimmy is away on business, so he was rather upset that he would lose some points in the championship, but never mind. I'm sure he'll try and arrange his business affairs to do the whole of Series 2, which starts at the beginning of October. So it's Brett Smith and Andy Evans now. Hard to tell which from the 2 avatars, isn't it? It says we're watching Brett Smith, but I can't pick which one's which. So, I think it is probably... I'm guessing that Brett Smith is the one pulling away. Knowing Brett, I'm guessing that this is Brett beating Andy. So Brett just takes it ahead of Andy. And one from Slough, one from Uxbridge. And I grew up halfway between the 2. Lee Louis now is just finishing off, taking 100 points in the Ladies League. And I think this will put in a 120 actually, because it's 20 bonus points. With Eileen not racing tonight, I think this is probably going to give Lee Louis every chance of winning the Ladies League. So well done, Lee. I don't think it's an absolute certainty. You'll have to come back and race some more, but I think the 20 bonus points is probably going to make it very, very difficult for Eileen to catch you. Eileen Davison not here tonight, so I'm afraid, Eileen, you might have just missed the opportunity to win the Ladies League, and Lee will be picking up the trophy, which is going to cost me rather more to send to her in the USA than it would to you in Scotland, but I think she's thoroughly deserved it. Turns up at every race. Well done, Lee. You've been fantastic. It's great to have you in the series. Riding for CLS, you can see the same colours Erwin Sprenger's had, that black with green. She turns 1.1 kilometre to go. She's going to see the brand new Flamme Rouge feature that Indy Velo added today. There you are. Your first opportunity to see it. And we even saw the pace bot at the beginning, although the pace bot was not part of the race. Confused me a little bit, like the sprint at the end, which I clearly muddling up the two sprints, wasn't I? Anyway, Lee Louie turning that corner, just doing the flat bit now, 900 metres to go. Well, so the flat bit, look, there's a 1% gradient to start with, but this doesn't last long, and it's not very much, is it? And she doesn't need to. She doesn't need to hurt. I'm sure she'll be riding as hard as she can, just out of competitive spirit. 700 metres to go, and she knows she's on telly, so she can't sit up and sit up and sort of take it too casually. She's got to look like she's racing. Go on, Lee, you go for it. You go for it. You're doing well. Brilliant stuff. There's a trophy in it for you, I guarantee. I do need to go and order them. It's another one of those jobs I've yet to do. So they will be done by the end of the month. And then we move into Series 2, starting at the beginning of October. Fantastic, isn't it? Hopefully some new routes. And don't forget, next week, absolutely flat. So if you didn't race tonight because you didn't fancy the mountain, come back next week. It's going to be dead flat. And even if you're one of those slow starters, we're going to neutralise it for 3 kilometres using the new feature. So next week will be very, very interesting. Make sure you're here on Monday Malarkey by West London VR, on Indy Velo, and filmed by ZMS. It's the dream team, isn't it? It absolutely is. Lee Louie, very much part of our dream team, as she races across the last 200 metres, and is going to claim 120 points in the Ladies League. Well done, Lee. Absolutely fantastic. Last 100 metres coming your way. You can see the finishing line. Look at it glowing, beaming, and I bet she is too. 60 metres to go. Absolutely fantastic. We will have all the standings out, and you can just see how close to winning that championship Lee is later on. I'll put them up on westlondoncycling.com. Give me a couple of hours. I have things to do, and I do have to process the results, and especially with the 20 bonus points, which means changing all the formulas. I'll make it hard for myself. But then again, you know, you deserve the extra 20 points. This was a hard race. Not everybody wanted to do that mountain. Special credit to Ned Bowen. I know that's not your type of race, but wasn't it fantastic? It never lets us down, this Indy Velo. Neither do ZMS who produced these. Very big thanks, Damon. Hopefully you'll all be on Chase the Yellow tomorrow and Thursday, and we'll be back next week. As I say, flat race next week. It's going to be fun. 3 kilometres neutralised by the pace bot. This is new. You haven't seen it on a platform before, but we will be racing it without bots, because we never have bots in our races, on Indy Velo next Monday, 7:30 UK time. We look forward to seeing you. Thanks, Damon, and everybody else who's helped with the production today. Great stuff. Bye.